can we as Christians make the Jewish people jealous? Now you have to understand, to make somebody jealous is not to grab him, to pressure him and say, be jealous. But it is rather that he, the one who is jealous, is running after you and says, I want what you have, or I want to be like you. Now, if I would have the possibility to take you here into Israel, and if I would succeed in making Jewish people tell you the truth, even if they're non-believers, even if they're against every religion, they want to be everything but Christian. And what I'm telling you, I tell you, and I will re-emphasize it several times because I see it from my point of view. And I was born a German. I grew up in the Black Forest. I told you in the beginning, this is not forgotten. I cannot forget this part of my identity being here in Israel. Let's just remind of what Paul says. He says in his letter to Romans, I will make you jealous of a non-nation. By means of a foolish nation, I will make you furious. Now look, there is one sentence I could add, summarize all what I'm going to say. It is be authentic, be real. If we try to play something, if we try to be something, if we try to mirror something to the Jewish people that we are not, it won't work. If we try to clothe in a way that doesn't fit, it won't work. If we will try all kind of missionary tricks, evangelistic, I don't know, wisdoms, it won't work. So what are we going to do? I think I have to tell you how my relationship with my rabbi started. His name is Rabbi Yaakov. And it was about 30 years ago that I and my family, we lived in the neighborhood of Katamon in Jerusalem. There's a lot of Oriental Jews from Morocco and Kurdistan and I don't know, the whole of North Africa and Iraq. Everything was there around us. And one evening, my future rabbi stood in the door. We had to do something technical. And somehow we slipped into some kind of theological discussion. And he looked at me, and maybe it was too late at night, I don't know why he started to be honest, but he looked at me and said, oh, you Christians, you have no idea how to read the Bible. Now I have to be honest with you and tell you what happened within myself. I mean, I always try to be polite and reasonable. But in this case, he touched something and that came up. You know, I had studied for 7 years theology. It was my life's calling. It is my life's calling to work with the Word of God in the Bible. And now this Orthodox Jew, I mean, I knew my Bible. I knew that he had a blanket over his eyes and over his heart. And when he was reading, if he was reading the Old Testament, he had a blanket over the Old Testament, over the Torah. Blanket. And now he tells me that I don't understand. You know what came up there? To say it in an Israeli way, I really loaded my theological Uzi, my machine gun, to tell him what is the truth. And while I was pulling up my theological machine gun, I suddenly felt how an invisible hand from behind came and closed my mouth. And then a still little voice whispered into my ear and said, shut up. And then it whispered into my ear, say yes. And I somehow must have said to my rabbi, yes. I wasn't really convinced about it, but you know, this voice. And this was the beginning of our relationship, that I admitted that I do not know how to read the Bible, that I admitted that I am a foolish nation, that, and you know, then I realized with this rabbi, because I then got him into a problem because the hand had gone, and so I said, but if you know how to read the Bible, then you teach me, and then I know, because I want to know. And that got him into a problem because he had to go back to his rabbis and first find out whether he was at all allowed to teach to a Gentile how to read the Bible. It was a big discussion. It was quite hilarious. But, you know, I realized then in the process that he has a big advantage by knowing the original language. And I later on came with texts to him and asked him, and I remember how he came with one text and he said, oh, I'll give you an answer next week, but I first have to memorize the text. And he memorized the whole chapter, in this case it was 49 of Isaiah, as a prerequisite to explain it to me. And I asked him, if you didn't know earlier, how do you know it now? And then he said, oh, we have a carrier frequency for it. It's called the Ta'ameha Mikra. And they actually sing the text. And then I said, you have to teach me that. What I want to say is, to make long stories short, the first step is we see what Paul writes. He says, I will make you furious by means of a foolish nation. If I am a know-it-all, if I know it deep in my heart, even if for missionary whatever tricks, I say, okay, I'm a foolish nation. No, it doesn't work. We have to admit it. And we have to come like that because it is simply the reality. It actually applies to a lot of Messianic Jews as well. That if they would really come into conversation with Orthodox Jews, with people who live the calling of their nation Israel, by being authentic, by being real, by being what we really are, yes, it will be, not sometimes, it will be very often embarrassing. But if Messiah has a chance, or will have a chance, or should have a chance to make them envious through me, then it will be only by being authentic.